What is going on, guys? It is that time again. Time to go over the stats from the playtest that just concluded, the September playtest, and then we're going to compare those to that of the July playtest. Just something to keep in mind, the July playtest was 5 days, whereas the September playtest was 7 days. So something to keep in mind. Naturally, that allows 48 more hours for numbers to go up, stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and, make sure to point that stuff out when applicable. So let's go ahead and take a look here. On the left, we have the September playtest and update. I'm going to break this into two videos. This first video, the one we're watching right now, is all about the stats of the playtest and comparing that to that of last playtest. I'm going to come up with a second video, and that's going to be about the fixes and updates that have happened already in just the few days since the playtest is concluded. All right, now that the Ice Cream Man has come and gone, let's go ahead and get into this update number 49 by Shawn, aka A Loving Robot. Hi all, we assembled this update as the September 7-day playtest has wrapped up. Apologies for the slight delay as we were super busy in the days leading up to the test. Do not apologize. This is actually quite quick, and we know you guys are super busy. It's obvious by the updates and fixes within this here post. Fortunately, the playtest went very smoothly. That's thanks to both the efforts of the team and how cool everyone's been on the servers, Discord, etc. Especially given the volume of new and returning players. So please accept our thanks for what's turned out to be a fantastic week. September playtest overview. This won't include every stat we pulled because the update turned out to be a massive one already. Hit us up in Discord if you think we left out any important stats. We may break out separate, more detailed review if necessary. Note, we post this data so that you can compare the data between tests and watch how things develop. Feel free to hop on Discord or one of our streams and discuss it with us if you have any questions. Definitely do that. You'll find in the links of this description a post to this update, so you can go and look at this yourself, take your time, read over it. Anything I may, gloss over, or just take your time to look at it yourself. Also, links to everybody, well, not everybody, but most people who do stream on the team, links to all of their YouTube channels and their Twitch channels. So definitely check those guys out. Here's the July playtest. The July playtest, we got it on the right over here so we can compare. So let's start doing that. So last playtest, 6,761 unique accounts logged in over the course of the playtest. This playtest, 7,713 accounts. So we saw an increase there. That increase is about 14%. A lot of these numbers are going to be rounding and napkin math, but they should be relatively accurate for what we're doing here. About up 14% in unique accounts. So always good to see that growing. We've been comparing playtests to previous playtests all year long. So we got a few of them here on the channel, and every playtest, the numbers do go up in unique accounts, hours played, all that kind of stuff. And again, keep in mind that the previous playtest was 5 days, whereas this one was 7 days. But unique accounts is great. I don't know how much a couple extra days. Those are weekdays. Every playtest includes a weekend, so these extra days are just weekdays. I don't know how much that really inspires people who haven't logged, or people to log in for the first time. A couple of extra weekdays. All right. So average playtime last playtest was 13.9 hours. It has the hours just under the minutes, if you can see that. 13.9 hours average played over the course of 5 days. This playtest, we had 16.6 hours over the course of 7 days. Naturally, with a 5-day playtest, you have 48 additional hours coming to the 7-day playtest. So the previous playtest, 13.9 hours over 5 days, is going to give you about 2.8 hours per day on average. Whereas with the 2 additional days making it a longer playtest, so the hours are increased on average. It's 16.6, but when you include the 2 extra days, that is bringing it back down to about 2.4 hours. So I don't know what you would call that. A little bit of like fatigue, I guess, maybe. You have more time. What they've done by giving you more time, they're removing FOMO, right? So when you have a shorter play test, you might put real life things off, or, you know, hey, you know, we can do that, you know, we can do that next weekend. We don't have to do it this weekend because we have the play test this weekend, whatever. But when you have more time to play, you have additional days to play, you might not push things off. You might say, hey, you know what? I got to do real life stuff today and tomorrow, but no fear, we have 5 more days after that to get on it to play, right? Or there's some people who want to save themselves for early access, you know? You don't want to burn yourself out on a play test, something that will be wiped come early access. So that's, you know, that's a given. So it was an increase overall. It is an increase overall, but on average per day, slight decrease there. But as I said, that is something that you would expect to happen. Something that I almost forgot to go over here that I do want to make sure I get in here is the account playtime distribution. So you can see this here in the last play test. We had the 0 to 4 minutes of total playtime. I mean, somebody literally logged in for 4 minutes or less, or made a character, never played, stuff like that. 124 people did that last playtest. This playtest, there was 302. We did see an increase in unique accounts, so all of these categories pretty much are going to go up. Let's take a look at some of the higher ones here. Like the highest category is the 25 to 50 hour category. We have 1,138 people who played in the 25 to 50 hour category. And if you do the math there, it's a 7-day play test. So if you do the math there, 25 hours over the course of 7 days is like roughly 4 hours. We're just going to round it and say 4 hours. And then 50 hours is over 7 hours. It's 7 hours and change. Just to make things easy, napkin math, we're just going to say this bracket is like 4 to 8 hours. So 1,138 people had roughly 4 to 8 hours, slightly under that. Pretty crazy. 4 to 8 hours every day, 7-day playtest. Pretty impressive, you guys. Good stuff, good stuff. People loving the game. I think that's obvious evidence that the largest category here is people playing 4 to 8 hours every single day on average. They could have played 16 one day and 0 the next. You know what I mean? It's on average. Pretty crazy, wild stuff there. If we look at the last play test, that same category did look the same, but something that is pretty showing here, in my opinion, is if you look at the 50 plus, I mean, this means people who played like 7.5 hours and beyond. These people, last play test, obviously this is going to be shorter because you've reduced the playtime by 28% because it's only a 5-day play test. So you have 377 people who did that, but you take away, you add 28% playtime, but you increase that number by 50%. It doubled. You increase it by 100%, excuse me. It doubled. It went from 377 to 758. It basically doubled. You only increased it by 28%, but the amount of people who achieved it increased by 100%. That's impressive. That's huge. I think that's very telling. People are loving the game. They're having a blast. They're putting in major hours to this playtest. Now, we have to point out that although the largest category was 1138 at the 4 to 8 hour range, there is this glaring one here, 1,078, which is pretty close. It's a second place, is people who only played 5 to 29 minutes. So people who played less than 30 minutes, but greater than 5 minutes. There was a large chunk there. So as many as people who were loving it like McDonald's, there was the same basically amount of people who did not put that much in. And you know what, personally, call it copium or whatever, but I'm going to say a large number of these people, I have a feeling, are people who logged in You know, with all the hype and everything, they logged in on day 1, maybe day 2. And things on day 1 and day 2 of a playtest are pretty rough because people have built up this 6 weeks worth of just like, they can't wait to get back. They played last playtest and they just cannot wait to get in the world. And, you know, they've been waiting 6 weeks to get in there, and boom, the floodgates open, everybody jumps in there. There's a ton of people who are maybe playing for the first time who have like level 1 characters or low level characters. There's people who have already been playing that are now going to try a new class out or what have you. And so they're low characters. There's people just hanging out in the newbie zones, just logging in and watching Shawn stream or whatever it might be on launch. And this is when you have like one of the highest peaks. This is actually when you have the highest peak players. It's going to be day 1. And so you're creating a new high peak. Everybody and their mom is in Night Harbor. Night Harbor's getting a new record-setting peak. And there's lag, okay? There's lag, there's latency. Everybody's excited to just log into the world. So that's when you know, and so some of these people maybe who are here for the first time are just like, you know what, you know, it's too laggy, I'm just not gonna play, and then they don't come back. That's not to say they won't come back and try again later, although obviously in this graph it's saying that they didn't. But maybe, you know, when EA launches or another playtest, they'll try. Now, if you are one of these people who logged in for like 5 to 29 minutes and then you didn't try again, due to the latency, or maybe there's so many people leveling right there in the newbie area and you're fighting for mobs, you can't find any mobs, all the mobs are dead because there's so many people and so little mobs, you know, come back on day 2 or day 3 and get in there, because a lot of people will have persevered through that and moved on to the other zones, and it kind of clears out a bit, and kind of people get their fix maybe, and you know, some people start logging in a little less, or they took a couple days off of work and now they're back to work, so on and so forth. Also, one tip, this is what I did back when, is that the next zone over, you don't have to be in the newbie zone, the north gate or the west gate. You don't have to be in that direct newbie zone. If you go one zone over in each direction, there are mobs that you can kill at like level 2, level 3. There are fire beetles. You don't have to get from 1 to 5 or 1 to 4 in the newbie zone. You can get out of the newbie zone, which takes away the whatever, what is it, like 3,000 plus, 2,000 plus NPCs in the city, plus all of the players who are just hanging out in that zone. That zone is bogged down. Get out of that zone, and like that, you'll feel a difference. So just get out of there, hunt some fire beetles or what have you, and that'll like greatly, you know, you'll appreciate it greatly when you feel the reduction in lag just getting out of that zone. So yeah, pretty crazy, crazy numbers. 758 people played 7.5 hours plus daily. You guys are savages, absolute savages. Good on you. And now let's go to the next category. Peak daily users last playtest, just over 4,000. Peak daily users this playtest, over 4,000, 4.6K. So it went up 500 plus from last playtest to this playtest. That's something that I guess time wouldn't really matter, right? Time doesn't matter when it comes to peak, right? So the peak players went up 500. I think that's over 10% in peak. Minimum daily users last month, 2,337. This month, I keep saying month, so just hear me out. I mean playtests. Last playtest, 2,337. This playtest, 2,523. So we also saw an increase there in minimum daily users, which again, I don't think is really affected by the additional time. It doesn't really affect it here. And the average daily users also went up from 3,390 last playtest to 3,608 this playtest. So good increases all across the board. So here on the last playtest, the peak concurrent users was 1,710. That was online at one time. This play test, we have 1,863. So they broke a new record. Last play test, 1710 was a new record. They keep breaking records consecutively in play tests. So the previous play test was a new record. Last play test was a new record. And now we've set another new record at 1,863 people online at the same time, just for an alpha test. No big deal. Let's see here. This is pretty funny. I didn't experience this. I am on, let's see here. Krivia's Night Harbor was bounced on 9-3 due to everyone in the zone being made 500% larger due to a dev's use of the wrong command. It wasn't a big deal. Like the pun? But I wish I saw that, or I was part of that. I do play on Krivia, but I didn't get to see 500% larger. I hope there's screenshots or videos. I haven't seen any. I would love to see everybody 500%. Everybody walking around 5 times their size. That's pretty funny. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at Playtime by Class. So last playtest, Shaman was #1 with Druid very close second. This current playtest, they flip-flopped. Druid came in at #1 with a Shaman as a very, very close second. So, I mean, they're both really, really close, but they did flip-flop there. You can see the list here beneath the graph. This very playtest, this current playtest, we had Enchanter come in 3rd. So Enchanter jumped up about, was that 4 spots from last playtest. Shadow Knight came in 4th. They dropped 1 spot from 3rd. Bard dropped 1 spot. They were 4th last playtest, or 5th this playtest. Cleric did come up a couple spots, 1 or 2 spots there for the Cleric, moved up. Fighter also moved up, looks like 2 spots. All right, Fighters, we see ya. Necromancer, however, appears to have dropped about 3 spots. Necromancer was like the 5th highest playtime class last playtest, whereas they dropped down to about 8th this playtest. Elementalist appears to have stayed about the same. Rogue moved up a few spots. Beastmasters relatively the same. Monks looks like they moved up a spot or 2. Spellblades dropped a couple of spots from the last playtest. Wizards did move up a spot. Rangers moved up a spot, whereas Paladins dropped 2 spots. They are 3rd from last now. They used to be 5th from last. Inquisitor and Archer both came in at the bottom. Inquisitor, 2nd to last, with Archer being dead last. The same as the last playtest. My prediction was that the Inquisitor would have moved up. I was thinking maybe just have a slight bump because of the new ability that was in the pre-playtest patch notes that we covered with the force grip and stuff like that, doing their inner Darth Vader. But I guess I was wrong there. They came in at the exact same 3.1% to come in 2nd to last. I mean, it wasn't that far-fetched. If you look above them, the Paladins at 3.3% and the Rangers at 3.3%. So I mean, if they could have just came in 0.3% higher, they would have surpassed both of those classes, and that would have met my prediction. But I was wrong. And then Archer dead last at, I mean, they got a little bit. There are more players. Well, I mean, this is a percentage, so that doesn't matter. Archers did move up a little bit, even though they're in dead last. They got 2.7% up from 2.4%. So there you have it. Not much has changed there. Let's go ahead and move on to the next category here. We do have overall race totals this playtest, which I don't believe were included in the previous playtest. So let's just go over this really quickly. We have humans coming in at a whopping 25%. When there are 7 playable races, they came in at 1/4 of all races. So humans continue to dominate. This is something that happens in every game, really. If you play like World of Warcraft on the Alliance, humans dominate. Next up, Goblins at 16.8, followed by Wood Elves at 16.4, Dwarves at 12.8, Gnomes at 11.4, Ogres at 9.8. Surprising that Ogres are 2nd to last. I'm actually kind of blown away by that. And Ogre Master Race. And Halfling is coming in at the bottom at 7.8 as intended. So one thing that I see here is currently in the alpha playtest, we do not have the stats from the races don't vary. So one thing that we could expect with early access, or hopefully makes it in by early access, is like ogres having the most strength, right? When currently all the classes have the same starting stats. So that, you know, all the human fighters out there, not sure how many there are, but all of the human fighters out there are likely going, you know, when you see an ogre starts with 20% more strength than you and 30% more stamina than you, and those are your main, you know, stat priorities for your class, I think you can pull some off of the humans and so on and so forth. I mean, that's going to go with all these races. I just think that these are going to get washed up a bit come stat starting races, as also there's these skills that you pick when you're creating your character, and some skills are like racial abilities. For instance, trolls aren't in right now, but one thing that trolls are going to get, because you can see the skill is there, is going to be like natural regeneration. So when you do make a troll, that will be available to you, but when you make a human, humans don't have the access to natural regeneration. Now, obviously, you can only pick one from each category, so just because it's offered doesn't mean that you'll necessarily pick it. And I think I did hear that some races will have innate abilities that just come with your race. That's something that'll be implemented later as well. So when all of this is implemented, maybe by early access, I think that we can imagine these numbers will be mixed up a lot more. In no world are ogres going to be sub 10% when there's 7 races available. I just don't see that. But I do think that humans will still be king. Humans will still be the #1 race. It's just how it works. A lot of people like to play humans for whatever reason in a fantasy game. And then also humans can have access to every single class. And typically in games, humans have like the best starting cities. I mean, I don't know. History shows, right? Humans have pretty good starting cities and racials and all of that. And like I said, you have access to all classes as a human. So the next up, we have top 10 Poopsockers by level. So Poopsock not being in terms of time spent, but Poopsock as in the highest level in this case. So last playtest on Heredrel, we had Talit as the highest level at level 26, a Goblin Shadow Knight. And you look at this playtest, and Talit still reigns king. He's a level 30 Goblin Shadow Knight now. We did have Gob jump up from 5th up to 2nd place to meet Talit. He is also level 30, although likely, you know, a little less XP in the level 30. Yeah, looks kind of like a fresh top 10 for the most part. Ruli jumped up there. Shout out to the rest of the top 10 for Heredrel. Let's take a look at Krivia. At Krivia, in the last playtest, we had Arcanine? Arcane? Eek. We're going to call you Arcane for this video. So we had Arcane, the level 35 Bard, Wood Elf Bard in the last playtest. He played in this playtest. He got himself up to level 49. And in record time, I might say. I don't know. That seems pretty fast. He had 118 hours in the last playtest. He has got 196 hours now, so he put in roughly 80 hours, and he got himself 14 levels from 35 to 49 in about 80 hours. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, man. What are you, swarm kiting, my guy? Maybe. This bar's out of control. All right, seems pretty good, though. Good job. We got Clank on there as number 2. It looks like Magnamar and Skelly from the previous playtest, it looks like they're saving themselves for early access because they didn't show up in the top 10 at all this time. So it looks like they let their foot off the gas. Yeah, pretty fresh. There's a couple of guys lower top 10 from the previous did move up. Good job, Krivia. Let's take a look at Rel, the big dog server. So the previous server, we had Sauce and Ling at level 40. The Rogue, Shaman, Goblin, equal playtime, assumed duo. At least I accuse them of being a duo. And then we look over here at this playtest, and we have that same Ling and Sauce duo who got 11 levels this playtest. They still have equal playtime. They're both Goblins. It's a Rogue, Shaman duo, in my opinion. I don't know the guys. Gordita moved up a spot to be in 3rd. Other than that, yeah, it looks like the top 5 is pretty much, top 5 or 6 are pretty much the same guys with a little bit of adjustment. And it looks like the bottom 4 either dropped off or new to the top 10 list. So good job, Rel, Sauce and Ling. Got my eyes on you. I mean, it might be a boxer. You can box on the server right now, on the playtest servers. You are allowed to box, so that could be a boxer. Imagine a boxer being the top level. I mean, hey. Now let's move on to PvP stats. And then we'll come back to that other one. So we got PvP stats per server, kills. Obviously, it's going to heavily favor the PvP server, naturally. So they were elite. Haradrill was elite last playtest with 1337. This playtest, wow. That's surprising. Wow. It dropped. So not a lot of action on the PvP server this go. Wow. I'm actually caught off guard right here. I don't know what to say. I didn't see that coming. So it looks like a lot less action on the PvP server this go. You know why? Because Rise of Zek, where you at? Did you guys play this playtest? They've been hitting it hard on ProjectQuarm. I'll tell you what. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe they're too busy on ProjectQuarm. Power leveling, getting power leveled by those bard swarm kiting. Am I right? Anybody? All right. So let's go back to the coin. Wealthiest players. Here we go. The coins looted. The 2 months are not the exact same information, and then it's a little bit out of order. So I'm trying to do my best here. So we got last playtest. The amount of coin looted was 826 gold, which whopping 3,386 gold this time around. And the reason being, people are higher level, right? Now this is going to massively increase in the next and final alpha playtest. This 3,003 is probably going to break 10,000 because people are in their 40s now. At least the people that are playing a ton, people aren't in there like, 1 through 10 and their teens and a couple people breaking 20s. Now people are in their 20s, they're in their 30s, they're in their 40s now. And so, we're seeing an amplification in the amount of gold looted and the value in which you can vendor loot for. So that's expected. It looks like last playtest, they tell you the top looted items. Not very interesting. They left that out this time. I think that is fine. It's all newbie yard trash anyway, so, save your effort, I guess. That's a good call. All right, so we got 10 wealthiest players. Last playtest on Haradrill, we had Ruli, number 1, at just under 5 gold. Ruli is still number 1 at, as you can see, 15.5 gold, a little over that. Talit came out of nowhere, came from 10th all the way to 2nd. He went from 2.5 gold up to 11.5 gold. Good job, guys. These typically go in line with the level of your character. The higher level guys are the wealthiest guys. Now, you could pull off becoming on this list and not being a high level by doing a lot of trade skills or something like that. But that's not for everybody. On Krivia, last playtest, we had Rinweth with 38, almost 38.5 gold. They dropped to 2nd place at a platinum and 24 gold. Halfgar came literally out of nowhere. Halfgar just flew up the ranks. He's got number 1 with over 1.5 platinum. Was not even on the top 10 last time. So congrats to those guys. Let's take a look at Rel. Sauce was the top last time on Rel. Sauce was the top with 39.5 gold, 39.25 gold. This time he's the number 1 as well at 1 platinum, 69 gold. Where is his buddy though? Ling, was it? So wait, Ling wasn't on the last top 10, and Ling isn't on this top 10. All right, it doesn't matter, but I think my suspicions are confirmed. I think this might be a boxer, and he's putting all his money on one character. So I don't know. Who knows? Sauce, Ling, let me know. Where you at? You a boxer or what's going on? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. All right, so let's go to the last and final thing we have here, which is top trade skills. So let's see here. Last playtest, it's in a little bit of a different format. So let's just go one serve at a time. Last playtest, Haradrel. You can just take a look here. Anything stand out? We had Mining, Waffle Stomp. Love the name. That was the name of the mages. That was the name of the mages, if you guys follow my channel. It's the name of the mages shaman when we played on Eridan, was Waffle Stomp. Got Mining at 196. It's the highest of everything. Also probably the easiest, no offense. This is the PvP server, so maybe not. 170 jewel crafting by Jules. That's impressive. All right. But on this current playtest, 196 mining is still the top, but it's got a different name, so that's interesting. There's horseradish, and that is highlighted in carpentry at 25. Oh yeah, note horseradish, you almost got us. Your account has been flagged with a friendly warning smiley face. If you guys are wondering about that, I actually did see this on Reddit. Shawn, the guy who wrote this up, a loving robot, somebody asked, and he did reply that they name changed him. So his name wasn't horseradish. His name was something else, and he barely caught it when putting this information on here. He saw it. It was something offensive or whatever, and he changed it. So that's what it was. Horseradish got a name change. He tried to get a naughty name up on the list for us all to read here and laugh at, but it got removed. I'm going to assume it was horsecock or something. All right, moving on. So then we've got Krivia. Don't leave my imagination to make things up, because it's only going to be worse than what it was. Krivia, take a look at it here for your own information. Mining 215, blacksmithing 162 last month. This month, let's take a look. Blacksmithing 238. That seems really high. Halfgar, you're killing it. What else do we got here? Fishing at 200. You're a beast, Coffee. Jewel crafting at 250, dog. Mining at 250 as well. Halfgar is the jewel crafter and the blacksmither. Dude, Halfgar. Bro. ZZZ is up there in many spots. ZZZ's got 65 cooking, 86 carpentry, 6 spell crafting, which is the highest, 25 tanning. Yeah, no? So he's all over the place there. And we've got Rel. This is just kind of, just little fun stuffs here, just to end the video here. Mining, what used to be like 207, jewel crafting 195, fletching 150. This month, we're looking at jewel crafting of 247, mining at 250, stone cutting at 100, Gurky. Jewel crafting by Shawn at 247, mining was Debussy at 250. Blacksmithing 212 by Gunber. I'm going to say Krivia is the better crafters. I think I said that last playtest. I'm going to say that again this playtest. Krivia's got their crafting on point. That's the last category, though. These videos always run long, it's 30 minutes. That's why I'm cutting the updates / fixes into another video. Just, to try to make it more digestible, because these things run on long and I'm long-winded. Links down in the description to check this stuff out yourself, so you can take your time and look at everything in detail. Also links to the devs and the artists, all of their YouTube and Twitch streams. Go check them out. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.